From the Rogue Word Studio in Dallas, Texas, it's The Lit Show with Jeremy Fee. New episode each Tuesday. Authors welcome, comments encouraged. Hello everyone, welcome to The Lit Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Fee. As always, I've got something special for you today. I'm not gonna lie, I got distracted this week by some Star Wars, catching up on the Disney Plus stuff. But that's not why you're here. The title of this video is, Should You Read Billy Summers by Stephen King? My immediate answer is, yes, why not? You should read all kinds of books. Books are fun and exciting. But I'll get into more specific details as I potentially ramble here in this video, because I'm talking to you unscripted, without a real plan. Let me just start off by saying people who might not enjoy reading the book as much as I did. The book is really a crime story, so if you're a huge fan of Stephen King and you're going into this expecting a horror story, this is not a horror story. It is not set up the same way as a horror story. So I would caution readers, if you're just here for Stephen King's horror stuff, this might not be the book for you. Though, there are a couple of passages about some sort of potentially haunted hotel, but that's not what the story's about. I would also caution you that this book is about 500 pages long, so if you do not like reading longer books, this might not be the book for you. Though, the way that Stephen King wrote it, right at the middle point, right at 250 pages, the story changes direction, which is awesome. I really enjoyed it. I was concerned because it is a crime story, and when you look at something like an Elmore Leonard novel, those kind of books, which I really enjoy, I expect them to be about 250 pages. So when I saw the book was 500 pages long, I have to admit, I was a little concerned about what I was getting into. I was thinking, is this going to have really slow pacing? Are there going to be a lot of extra unnecessary scenes? But nope. There are some slow parts, but Stephen King, I think, does really well with the slow parts because he's developing the themes and the more humane ideas involved with the story. Ultimately, I think it worked out really well being 500 pages long, though if I was going to criticize the book, I would say it could have been a little bit shorter. The landing for the finish could have come down, could have been a touchdown sooner if you asked me. Maybe cut 50 to 75 pages there at the end, change things up a little to make the ending happen a little faster maybe. But that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I think it was a really fantastic book overall, and I would highly recommend this book for people who enjoy crime stories, for people who enjoy stories with assassins. The main character is a former soldier who was involved in the conflicts in the Middle East. Highly detailed battle combat info because the book has flashbacks to him as a soldier and as a sniper, dealing with the real world situation there. It also has flashbacks to his childhood. You understand the traumatic events that happened to him as a child, and then what he goes through in the war and dealing with the conflicts there, and how that has shaped his personality and how he has become an assassin for hire and all of that. Stephen King does not get preachy in this book, but I feel like that there's the subtle, very subtle criticism of the war. There is some outward hostility toward Donald Trump and that sort of thing, but in general, I feel like it's very subtly done to where when you stop and think about the psychology of the character and you stop and think about what he's been through, it does come off as criticism of the war and the military and the things that happen, but there's never a line in the book that's like, war is bad and soldiers shouldn't have to go through this and we should do more to help rehabilitate them and get them therapy and all of that. There are a couple of strange lines in the book though. Stephen King, I assume, was writing this as he was personally trying to deal with the psychology of the pandemic, everything we've been through the last few years. And so there are a couple of weird lines in the novel of the characters had no idea that in about 6 months to a year, there would be a global pandemic that would cause blah, blah, blah. And I thought that maybe those lines were included because the timeline of the story might really drag, well, I don't want to say drag on, but might extend all the way into the pandemic and what we've been dealing with. But no, you don't have to worry about that. Stephen King just dropped a couple lines in, having the narrator just mention that, yeah, there'll be a pandemic in the future. So a couple of those lines stood out as odd. I would perhaps criticize that those lines were not necessary, but at the same time, it doesn't really hurt the story. It just kind of takes you out of the immersion for a moment and might make you think about your own life and what you've dealt with during the pandemic and all of that. There are a couple of really awesome lines in my opinion. I am a fan of the TV show The Blacklist with the main character Raymond Reddington, who is a criminal and deals with all kinds of stuff. The characters, I don't want to give you spoilers, but there is a mentioning of the TV show The Blacklist and characters watching it on Netflix, and the main character has a line of, once he saw enough episodes, he figured out Raymond Reddington's stuff and how the character was set up and how the character thought. And I thought that was pretty neat, just because I'm a fan of both The Blacklist and Stephen King, so it was nice to see those tied together, and made me think that Stephen King probably sits at home watching Netflix sometimes and watches The Blacklist. Overall, I really enjoyed reading this book, and I would highly recommend it in general. If you are into action, thriller stories, if you are interested in stories that have characters where the main character is a former soldier, if you like Elmore Leonard type of crime novels, then I would recommend it. The main character, the premise at the beginning is that he kind of puts on this persona that makes him seem like he's dumber than he is. He gets hired as a professional assassin, and it's got the trope of one last big job, which the main character is very aware of. He has thoughts about the trope itself and what it means and how that probably means it's a bad idea for him to take the job because he's being offered a lot of money to do one last job before he retires as an assassin. And he knows that that doesn't work out well in movies and books and that sort of thing. But he takes the job and he has to take on the persona of another person. So there's interesting stuff in there with identity and kind of how people act and behave and pretend to be other people with their personalities. And like I said, I don't want to give you spoilers, but halfway through the book, things really shift and change. It is all one complete narrative, but I almost felt like if this was turned into a movie, it could be made in 2 parts, and you could have the first half and then the second half, and it would work out very well. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Billy Summers by Stephen King and whether or not you should read it. In general, I'm saying yes, read it. I hope you'll give it a read. Billy Summers by Stephen King. That's it for the Lit Show today. Every Tuesday is a good Tuesday for a book talk, even when it's a day or two late. Have a great week. Peace.